Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. My name's Mick Napier, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Over the last few months, we've had a galaxy of people who've been agreed to be interviewed in order to contribute to the conversation, because we think they have something significant to add to the discussion of how to deliver effective solidarity to the people of Palestine. So this morning in the UK, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Mahmoud Zwahre. Mahmoud, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mick.
Mahmoud is, he's just finished a PhD, of which more later, but he's a leading individual in the popular committees in the occupied West Bank, the occupied territories of Palestine, in organising resistance to the Israeli occupation. And it's in that capacity I'd like to interview him. Mahmoud, the photograph behind us, Die Arab, filthy language, follows, gives a hint to people of the ferocity of the occupation, the settler project in the West Bank. How do you manage to not just surrender? How do you manage to continue resisting, Mahmoud?
It's the sumud. It's the sumud of the Palestinians, the determination to live the same as the other people, the other nations that fight against occupation and injustice all over history and all over the world. This explains why Palestinians didn't surrender after 70-something years of being under occupation, being under settler colonialism. And actually, if we look at it, this explains how the Palestinians managed to be even more than the Zionists in Palestine. If we take it on the long term, Palestinians are increasing in terms of demography, in terms of sumud, while let's say the Israeli settlers also are increasing, but they didn't manage to achieve what they were looking to achieve from what is written on behind you, what is written Die Arab. And those Palestinians are still there, which explains the sumud of the people.
Well, you've suffered under settler colonialism, a brutal occupation since before 1948, but I guess the native people of Bolivia suffered under that settler colonialism for even longer, and they have not been broken. So we don't expect the Palestinians to be broken either. But listen, viewers, I'm now going to play a 1-minute video which might give you an idea as to why the Palestinians remain unbroken. Mahmoud, can we just play this video for a minute?
بدي اذكرك لما يدخل جيش الاحتلال عليك في الشمال ويقول لك خلص انتهت خدمتك. بدي اذكرك لما يخلوا العراقيب 66 مره وابوك وامك مرميين في العراق بس لانهم مش يهود. بس والله مش لو حملت M16، والله لو ركبت F16 عمرهم ما رضوا عنك. والله لو ركبت F16 الا يظلوا يطاردوا وراك، الا يظلوا يطاردوا وراك في العراقيب وفي غير العراقيب. اصحى اصحى فوق. مش بس في فلسطين، انت بالنسبة لهم مش مطلوب مهما اظهرت من ولائك لهم. اتفرج على العراقيب، اتفرج على البدو اللي قاعدين بتهجروا في النقب، اتفرج عليهم وشوف قديش بتعطي ولاء لهذه الدولة العنصرية. راح يحترموك ولا مرة راح يحترموك. اصحى يا حالك، انت بتظل عربي، اصحى. شوف العراقيب شو بصير فيها. 80 مرة تهجرت العراقيب، 80 مرة تهجرت العراقيب، واليوم بدك تظهر ولاك لهذول ولا مرة راح يقبلوك، ولا مرة راح يقبلوك. بكفي بكفي. واللي بيصير في العراقيب نفس اللي بيصير في المعصرة يا حبيبي، ونفس اللي بيصير في أي محل في فلسطين، عشان تعرف إنه هذا الحكي مش راح يمشي عليهم. وفي يوم من الأيام راح تقول إن في فلسطيني من هان من قرية المعصرة قال لي هذا الحكي لما يصلوا بيتك ويخلوك من جوا بيتك، يخلوك من السقيفة اللي انت موجود فيها وابوك موجود فيها، عشان تعرف بس.
Mahmoud, can you give viewers a little bit of context for that confrontation? We know that a majority of the soldiers in the apartheid army in South Africa were black. the Israeli army manages to find a few Bedouin and some Druze to put on their uniform as well. But there you were really engaging, I think, in a very sharp way with a Bedouin soldier, and you were talking about Al-Araqib. Can you tell the viewers the background there?
Yeah, let's say like I am from Al-Masara village to the south of Bethlehem, and we have been organizing demonstrations since 2006, and it was an occasion to meet face to face with the soldiers. And you know, by time you have this kind of communication, whether by gun, by words, by eyes, whatever. And at that particular demonstration, to see the majority of the soldiers as Bedouins and the Druze, simultaneously with what is happening.
Sorry to interrupt you. You mean in that confrontation, it so happened that the majority of the Israeli occupying force were Bedouin and Druze?
In that unit, I mean, that were in our village. And at the same time, the Israeli occupation forces were demolishing a village in Israel itself, in the Nakab, called Al-Araqib, which is a Bedouin village that belongs to the families of these soldiers. So the idea was just to shake the minds of these soldiers, like, what are you doing? You will never be, they will never see you as a loyal to them, because you are Arab at the end, you are Palestinian. So look what they are doing. They are using you here and demolishing the houses of your parents in Nakab. And that's what I was trying to raise in the minds of the soldiers, and to let them know that they are used, they have been exploited by the mechanism, by the system in Israel, and they will never accept them as equal citizens of Israel. And that argument actually gave its impact because they arrested me after that, and the commander was Bedouin. And I have a dialogue with a Bedouin in the car while he was sending me to the police station. And when he took his you know, like the head cover and so on, and we have the talk, I can read that in his eyes. I was able to read the guiltness in his eyes, in his face expressions. And at the end, they want to tell me, if we do not serve, we will never be able to stay. And that's something always the Zionist movement is looking to achieve. When you were talking about black, white, Zionist movement is entering a new phase, that they are looking to see Zionist movement as a non-Jew movement, not only a Jewish movement, because we already passed this. And especially with the international politics now, what does it mean, religion, and how is terrorism is connected to specific religions?
But how does that fit? Can you develop that point? But how does that fit with the nation state law, which recognizes what has always been true, that in the entire area that the Israeli army conquers, an Arab, a Palestinian, can never be equal to a Jew from the day he is born to the day she dies. He doesn't have the same rights. So what you're saying is, how can they have to be a magician to cover up the Jewish supremacy in Palestine to try to show that they are not supremacist? Can you develop that point, Mahmoud?
Yeah, I will tell you, like now, since Israel like raised the debate around the Jewish state for Jewish people and so on, it raised this argument about how come this is against democracy. And by raising the point that, look, we have non-Jew inside the Zionist movement, this a little bit cover up the non-democratic part in the Zionist movement. That's why they have now, you can see Muslims who are Zionists, you can see Christians who are Zionists, you can see people from different ethnicities can be, and that is something I think is the future. If they want to look for the future, they have to cover up with these cosmetic things, like including people from different backgrounds, religions, without breaking the supremacy of the Jewish. That's where they want to make the future. And this is, from my point of view, is something that they want to show to the world, that Zionism does not mean Judaism only. And that is, I think, is a smart issue that they are playing on, by including Bedouins, by including Druze, by including Africans, even Christian Angelicans, and now with their new allies with the Gulf area. All of this is like
I've lost me. But the Zionists have always tried to co-opt minorities. They've tried to co-opt Christians in the past, but they've failed with a large number of people. Talahan is an icon of resistance. They've to some degree co-opted Druze and Bedouin. But as you point out in your confrontation, it's difficult to keep people loyal when you're smashing up their families' homes. Yeah.
And that, yeah. But the system, I mean, so far they didn't manage to co-opt. So let's say, like you are talking about our Bedouins and the Druze, we are talking about no more than 3,500 soldiers who are serving in the Israeli occupation forces. And we are talking about more than 400,000 Bedouins living in historical Palestine. So this is a very minority percent of the people who are serving. And if you go to the communities, you see how much these people are rejected from their communities. And I mean, this video that you are talking about created a huge debate over social media, and to see the comments of the Bedouins themselves, that those soldiers are rejected from the communities and not accepted by the communities. And you are
they actually sent a Bedouin guy here to Scotland. I forget his name, but he was a deputy to Lieberman at some stage, and he's fated in the media here as this Bedouin who rises to the top and so on. But we heard that back in his home village they can't even get a road, and he is shunned by his fellow Bedouin Palestinians. Can you comment on that? Because
yeah,
it had some influence here in Scotland among the ignorant.
And as we said, Israel is not trying only to co-opt. Israel is trying to exploit the other ethnicities like Arabs and so on. And if you remember, the groups that Israel trade in order to be anti-BDS all over the world are non-Jew and are from Arabs and so on, in order to be more impactful. And this guy that you are talking about is one of the guys that the government trade. But as soon as this guy comes closer to the government, the community rejects these people. The community never incubates the people who have relations in the army or serving the Israeli state in a way that touch the rights of the Palestinians. And and that's where what explains that the Palestinians are still there, which is the identity. And this identity of the Palestinians, whatever, they are still seeing themselves as the owner of the land, the owner of the country. And even if they are under the role of Israel, they are still the owner of the country. This is how they feel, and that's what annoys Israel. And even in all over 1948 areas, you cannot see that those people are immigrants. You cannot see them as, you know, the Palestinians. Even it is not like only the indigenous people. They are still the people who owns the land, you know. And that's what make Israel weak and don't know how to deal with these Palestinians, even in Israel and in the West Bank and Gaza.
Mahmoud, it's just a detail, but it's an important detail. We had, I think in 2016, there was a big attempt by the Israelis to break back into the Edinburgh Festival, and they had a Shalom Peace Festival, for God's sake. It was a disaster. We had a huge protest. The following year, they had to move to the outskirts, but they brought over a Palestinian guy to this celebration of all things Israeli, which presumably means murder and dispossession. But they produced a Palestinian there who was a member of Competence for Peace. And he came to argue that Israel wasn't quite as bad as you might imagine. Does that surprise you?
I was like not surprised, because I know this trend of peace management, let's say, during the 90s, when Israel wanted to cover all what we reached today, to bring Palestinian and Israelis and to normalize and accommodate with the situation. And you can find some individual Palestinians that are joining with Israeli groups, talking about or masking the Israeli crimes that and a human rights violation. But I would say, what is the impact of these delegations inside Palestine and outside Palestine? I have been involved in the joint struggle with Israeli activists for more than 20 years. I saw the impact of being with Israeli activists than hiding myself in a conference in Scotland or in another country with zero impact in Palestine. If the Israelis are really stand with the Palestinians, they should be proud of that on the ground in Palestine, fighting with the Palestinians, or at least they can prevent the problem from happening. But what is happening from these joint trips, talking about like, okay, you have a limit to talk about, to criticize Israel, but you cannot criticize Israel to the end about the realities that they are creating on the ground. That is covering up. That is not accepted by Palestinians, and that is called normalization, that we are against it. And I think also the Palestinian communities reject such initiatives. But when it is organic, so based on solidarity, everyone will open his house for the Israelis, everyone. But if it is cosmetic issue and it's just a show, the society will reject it. And this is what happened with the normalization initiatives since the 90s.
No, you're right. It was just window dressing. It had no substance to it. Mahmoud, I can still call you Mahmoud, but I think later tonight I have to call you Doctor something or other. So while you're still a commoner, what did you've just finished a PhD in a British university. You've taken time to reflect and analyse and look deeply at the struggle against the occupation. Can you tell us what you learned? You must have known a lot before you started the PhD, but what did you learn in the course of standing back? And reflection's a sexy word in education these days, but okay, what did you learn?
I was lucky to have the time and the space to be by myself, to reflect on myself and my friends' experience in the last 15 years. I have learned a lot, despite from my experience and where I'm coming from. I have learned the theory of the nonviolence because I'm coming from a physics background. I have not been involved in the theory of social movements, of nonviolent resistance, which enabled me to know how, in theory, it could look like, and to what extent the Palestinian popular committees and popular resistance are close to the success of nonviolent movements that happened in the last century. And I found like there are some things that we can implement in Palestine to make the popular resistance stronger, to mobilize people. Yet I discovered that these popular resistance committees succeeded on the local level in their villages when those communities come together, they fight. And I can tell you, none of the villages that resist the occupation, that the occupation never achieved its goals. Always they managed to reroute or to mobilize the people to stand for their rights in all the village.
You mean a mixture, but do you mean a mixture of violence, of intimidation, of trying to corrupt people, of blackmail to produce collaborators? You mean it has a limited impact, that there's still a core of strength there?
The popular committees managed to build a generation in the villages that are able to stand for their rights, despite their repression, despite the Israeli policies, all what you are talking about. And they managed to reroute the wall, to have access to their land and whatever. All these rights, if they didn't resist, they will not have them, including my village that we organized for 10 years. And at the end, the Israelis didn't build the wall. They built a path for the wall, and we are using as a road. That is a lesson for the Palestinians. On the other side, when these popular committees came from the local level, from the village level to the national level, and they start to organize campaigns on the national level, they face the wall. And here where I focused on what is in the hands of the Palestinians to reach the point that the division, the lack, the Oslo agreement itself, the lack of a strategy on the national level has inhibited the success of the popular resistance and the popular committees to mobilize the political parties to be involved effectively in the popular resistance in order to reach a similar intifada to the first intifada, another intifada that can bring back the power of the people on the ground. But with Oslo, with the divisions, with all of these factors, made the popular resistance limited to a local village. And this also leads to the question, what kind of struggle Palestinians are doing? Is it a national struggle? Is it one state or two state solution? Because if we look at these localities, the struggles are not different than the struggles of the Palestinian communities in Israel.
Because you mentioned Al-Araqib, that takes place on the other side of the so-called Green Line, yeah?
Yeah, so what does it mean, the Green Line? With this kind of a struggle, I think it means nothing, and we are talking about a post-two-state era. You know, the all two-state is behind with such kind of a struggle in the absence of the political parties, in the lack of a strategy and the division between Hamas and Fatah. Such things I learned, but I discovered also that the everyday resistance of the Palestinians kept on the collective identity of the Palestinians, the sumud of the Palestinians in Area C particularly, protected the land and converted their individual behavior into collective resistance, into a kind of challenging the Israeli occupation. And at the end, the hope is coming from below. And if we manage to focus on the micro level, on the people on the ground, pushing up, we will be able to bring the change, especially in a context where Arabs are divided, where America is giving ultimate support to Israel, and with the hope coming from the great march of return from Gaza, this brings the trust back to the people and the hope in order to bring the change.
I'm going to let you go to get your fancy gown on and to parade with others who've put in a lot of hard work to get a degree. Before you go, what do you want from solidarity groups here in the West? The Scottish government is, can you just touch on the fact the Scottish government and others are putting a lot of importance on recognizing a Palestinian state, which in my humble opinion doesn't exist. It would be a fantasy, and it's not a good idea to recognize fantasies. But what's the main thing you think we should be doing in order to deliver effective solidarity, Mahmoud?
This is this is really the core issue, because we know that Israel is depending on economy. Israel is depending on a few intelligence and technology and these things that Israel is created on as a colony by itself. And if we manage to make this occupation costly, then they will rethink about what they are doing. And that is the role that can be played by a third party, the third parties, which is now the solidarity. So the question is how, from your actions, you will bring hope to the Palestinians that can be stand up and join the resistance, and the same from what we are doing will encourage people to see hope that there will be something happening. And I think BDS is something that cultivates some achievements for the Palestinians that we are proud of. And that is something we have to work within a kind of, I like this French solidarity that they put it in an equation: inform, protect, advocate. And that to react on the ground, how to carry those settlers who are doing these crimes to the ICC, how to punish the companies that are involved. Hiba Labadi, I want just to let you know how sad is what happened. That make me really, my heart was broken. Hiba Labadi is a Palestinian Jordanian girl that was arrested at the bridge when she was crossing to attend a wedding in Palestine. And they took her because of her social media involvement and how she is supporting the resistance. And when she was talking about the handcuff and the clothes of the prisoners, and when she cried while I was handcuffed by a UK chain and by Turkey clothes. That is so sad to see all this investment in these settlements in Israel from countries that they sell human rights and equality to the world. And that is where we can touch the point. And I think what she was mentioning is, this is my country. And she was honest, you know, she was like, she said that this is the first time that I found a company created a state. And from there, we can act as solidarity. As solidarity when we make this cost for the occupation by highlighting these things. When she was arrested with Turkish clothes and with British handcuffs, it's shame. And I think we have to work on these things, because this is clearly shows how those countries are involved in the crimes. The same with the weapon trades from all over the world with Israel, and from Israel to the world, India, for example, and other countries. So our role is to how to strengthen BDS, how to work from door to door in order to make the people aware that by implementing BDS, we are doing our morality. We are protecting our morality as humans in order to end this conflict.
So in a struggle for existence, morale is critical. The Israelis are overwhelmingly superior in terms of technology and resources. BDS from time to time scores a significant economic success. But would you agree that the primary function at the moment is to sustain Palestinian morale by showing that worldwide it's Israel that's in a ghetto, it's Israel which is a polecat state, and the Palestinians who enjoy much more support than their adversaries and their oppressors? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I got your point. You know what? Human rights language is a good way to make people aware about what is happening in order to make them act. Because what I see, this is what through my eyes, what I am seeing. I'm seeing Israel is going down. But who is protecting Israel from failing? Arabs and the world, the third party.
But come on, Mahmoud, you can't say Israel's going down. They've just sent something to the moon.
Mick, you know, I am with nonviolent resistance. Israel is attacking Damascus on daily basis. Israel is attacking Iraq on daily basis. Israel is attacking states on daily basis. None of these states are able to respond. Gaza by itself make Israel under siege for 3 days. None of the Israelis from Gaza to Tel Aviv was able to walk in the streets. That's the difference. That's why when I see the long-term issue in relation to what is happening. So Israel is no more able to sell itself to the Gulf that they are going to protect them from Iran. They can't protect themselves. So that's where is the, who is protecting Israel is the Arabs, is the West. And that's where you can see the long-term issue. When they assassinate a Palestinian from Gaza, they were under siege for 3 days. And that's something, give us a sign. This is that Israel is going down. This never happened before. But anyway, the third party, we have to focus on human rights, to increase awareness of putting it in this context in order to act on the BDS and other forms. But BDS, well, it's for the internationals, that you need to inform them. You need them to know the value of what they are doing. And the first step is the human right language, the human right lenses for those people in order to come closer to the BDS and to act according.
It doesn't cost very much for us to campaign here. A few Muslims pay a heavy price, but most of us, it's not a serious price. It might have impact on your job. But the photograph behind me here, Mahmoud, is not from Gaza, I don't think. I think it's from the West Bank. There seems to be impunity for soldiers who kill Palestinians. How is this felt among Palestinians as a fear or as a reluctance to act on the ground where you are in the West Bank? Can you comment on that before we wind up?
Yeah, Mick, I want to tell you, like a few days ago, Israeli snipers, as you can see from the picture behind you, Israeli sniper shot a Palestinian photographer in the eye. And now they took all of his eye. And I think that is not random. When you turn off the eye of a photographer, of a journalist, means that you want to turn off the reality that hurts you as an occupier. That's why and now there is a big campaign for this. Mu'adh is the journalist that was shot in the eye a few days ago in Hebron. What I want to tell you is that the Israelis' violation and the Israelis' light hand on the guns are more and more. In a refugee camp a few days ago, they shot the guy while he was trying to turn off the fire in his house. And then now with documenting all of these, we are able to see how easy for the Israeli soldiers to kill. And also, if you watched another video for another Palestinian worker, when the soldiers told him to leave, and he left, raising, and they shot him from the back to send this to his girlfriend as a hero that he killed an Arab, a Palestinian. That is half of the picture. That is few of the reality.
Can I just ask there, it's a tiny detail. I thought that was true, but I think it was a woman soldier who shot him to send to her boyfriend. Have I got that wrong?
I think the way around, the boyfriend sent to his girlfriend.
Anyway, it's disgusting, it's degenerate. Yeah.
Exactly. And what is happening now on the ground, it is like no one is asking them what you are doing, especially after this support from America. So killing is more. The land, Mick, now it is not a matter of companies that are coming to take over the land. It's a matter of individuals that are taking the land by spreading their tents everywhere in the West Bank and living there under the protection of the army. And that is something new. Before it was gradually growing, but now no. Now they are occupying the hills, even at the edge of Area A, even in Beit Jala. It is Area A they are there. So I think this is another issue which is more dangerous than shooting and then covering all the crimes. This is a new step that Israel want to take as much as they can from the land. And now they let the settlers as individuals to do it, and you know that they have the resources to do that. The last months witnessed that even during the olive campaign, when they leave the farmers until they pick the olive, they attack the farmers and they take the olive from them ready. So violations are increasing, not decreasing, but also this is a sign of decline of the state of Israel.
Mahmoud Zwahre from the popular committees in the West Bank, and tomorrow we'll call him Dr. Zwahre. Thank you very much for coming on here today. Our final remark to our viewers is that Mahmoud's coming up to Scotland on Sunday and will be participating in a workshop on how we can deliver more effective solidarity to the beleaguered people of Palestine. If someone reflects upon the fact that our current Home Secretary, Priti Patel, held secret meetings with Israeli politicians and soldiers a couple of years ago and came back and tried to recommended that British humanitarian aid should actually be directed towards the Israeli army, we realize that the enemy's not at the gate, the enemy's inside the gates and inside the government. So if there's an axis of evil between Netanyahu, Patel and Johnson, we need an axis of solidarity between Mahmoud Zwahre and comrades in Scotland and elsewhere. Mahmoud, you've contributed to that. I really look forward to meeting you again on Sunday, and really best wishes today, and have a well-earned marvelous.
Thank you, Mick. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for viewing, and if you want to get in touch, there'll be details posted underneath. Thank you and bye.
Bye-bye.